passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver, Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes, where we challenge everything and everyone. This is the first Thursday of the month of December, the last month of 2017, and 2017 has been a wild ride in a way that nobody could have predicted. Certainly, I didn't predict it, and I work as a professional psychic. I didn't see it. I think that at the beginning of 2017, they probably should have given out anti-nausea and motion sickness pills to everybody in America and recommended them 3 times a day because there's just been a lot of things out there that have made myself and lots of other people just really nauseous in these events, in this roller coaster ride. Because it is the first Thursday of the month, it is our Neutral News Thursday here on the Dr. Kevin Show. Neutral News is Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed, whose drive time show is 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. I'll let him give you the contact details because my head and a sieve look very much alike this evening. So I can't tell you what the contact details are. That's his job, and we'll bring him in just a minute. This is a live call-in show. You can call in at 202-570-7057. Again, that's 202-570-7057. You can also go to the Facebook fan page for Dr. Kevin, facebook.com/mydrkevin, MYDRKEVIN. Well, you are there. Make sure that you like me because I'm a likable guy. You will see a posting right at the top about tonight's show. You can post any questions, comments, or something other than those. I don't know what it would be other than questions and comments, but you can post them there. We'll see them. And if appropriate, I've been told I have to say what if appropriate. If appropriate, we will read them on air. If not appropriate, we'll delete them off Facebook because that's how we roll. So, Matt, tell everybody where they can be listening to you from 4 to 6, Monday through Friday. And make sure you post it on the Facebook page.
Yes. Well, the show emanates from WMNH 95.3 FM in Manchester, New Hampshire. But you can also stream it from anywhere in the world at ipmnation.com/live1. And that's weekdays 4 to 6 Eastern time. And then, of course, later on it does go up on IPM Nation, and it's archived there as well as at WMNHradio.org. And you can post things on the Matt Connarton Unleashed Facebook page, too. I will accept not only questions and comments, but limericks as well.
Okay. Are there any restrictions to those limericks, or they can be the kind of limericks that we used to giggle about as kids?
No, they cannot be obscene limericks. If I see your limerick and I see the word Nantucket anywhere in it, I will delete it immediately. I am quite a prude.
Well, so there are limitations. You gave the impression there were no limitations. So there are limitations
kidding.
out there. Oh, you won't?
There are no limitations. You can post anything that rhymes with Nantucket that you like.
Okay, well, it's a good thing to know. So here on Neutral News, the first Thursday, we try to see if we can bring some kind of nonpartisan view of all the stuff that's going on in the news, because the only thing that's real in the news, it seems like anymore, unless you're listening to PBS or NPR, is the declaration of fake news, because it's all has a certain degree of slight the the smell of rotting flesh to it.
Wow,
that's quite the visual.
Very specific.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the liberal and the conservative press are equally hypocritical when they point the finger at the other one. Neither of them, aren't out there trying to pass off opinions as truth. When I see, when on my iPhone, when a news cycle comes up and, sometimes it will say opinion, 9 times out of 10, I don't even click on it. I actually don't even want to read it. Unless it's somebody that I know and respect. And if I do, then I probably have another source to their information. But especially, I have to say, when Fox News shows up and it says, and it starts with opinion, and then it has this headline, which is going to make you think that, Trump is having Clinton's baby or something else, but they at least they do that. It's like, it's hard to tell, and it's a sad day when the National Enquirer seems to be more legitimate than Fox or CNN. Wouldn't you say, Matt?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to, everything is so much. Well, I shouldn't say everything, but so much of what is considered mainstream media is coming from a particular, coming through a particular ideological filter, whether it's, in the case of cable news, I always say whether it's Fox News on the right or MSNBC on the left. And it's a little difficult to, I appreciate it when I do see something that shows up as opinion, that it's at least labeled opinion and that it's not labeled as, yeah, and that it's not labeled as objective fact. That's nice. That somebody's being honest about it, but there's not a lot of that.
So they just extended to not shut the government down until December 22nd. What's your take on all of that? You think it's going to continue to get extended, or do you think that it's going to die at the hands of partisanship?
No, I think it'll continue to be extended. But I find it generally infuriating that this even keeps coming up. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for the markets when there is a threat. I just realized it's supposed to be neutral news, and I'm putting in my opinion. But well, let me put it this way. Force of habit, because I just did a 2-hour show where I just spew nothing but opinion. But let me put it this way. It is very bad. I think economists would generally agree. It is very bad for the economy whenever the government shuts down. It costs the economy billions of dollars, and it is dangerous because so much of how the economy functions, how the markets function, et cetera, is based on people's perceptions. Oh, what did I just hear?
Nothing.
Somebody talking to us? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay, I heard a voice. So it's dangerous to the economy when there is even the perception that there may be a problem, like a shutdown. So I think economists would generally agree that even flirting with a potential government shutdown is dangerous for Congress to be doing and something that should be avoided. Just like, the threat of default on our debt can be very dangerous to the economy. It causes the country's credit rating to be lowered. So these are things that I'm sure the Republicans are very conscious of right now, because typically whomever is in power gets blamed whenever there is a government shutdown. It would be very difficult for, if there were a shutdown, for the Republicans and for Trump to blame the Democrats, because the Democrats are not in power right now. But it's ultimately bad for everyone when there's a government shutdown, and I think that is a fact, and I think that I think they're going to continue to try to avoid that.
Yeah, they're going to try to. I mean, we have had moments where there was temporary shutdowns in the past in the wrangling.
Yes,
and the thing is, it's to me, and I, as an observer and as an American voter and participant in this I use the word loosely, democracy. Uh, you know, um,
Yeah.
that keeping the government going should not be allowed to be a political tool on either side. And I don't think anybody
Right.
can question the legitimacy of the fact that it's being used as a political tool. I mean, would you agree?
Well, there is a libertarian argument. There are libertarians who think that a government shutdown is a positive thing because their viewpoint very often is, well, government's bad, government can't do anything good or useful. So they tend to see a government shutdown as being a positive. But again, I mean, that negates the fact that it does cost the economy a tremendous amount of money every time that it occurs.
Yeah. And somebody's still going to get the work still has to get done. People still have to, I mean, we've created a nightmare web of paper and approvals and things to keep national and state governments functioning. And, do we have too much government? Probably. That's an opinion. I think that probably the government could be run more efficiently than it's being run. But these shutdowns don't do anything to increase the efficiency. If they do anything, they create more disasters if they happen for any period of time, because they're all the messes that have to get cleaned up. And the other thing is that you're not going to get if people every time there is a political kerfuffle going on. And we'll be right back.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Tune in to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Mother, Mother Ocean.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Buffett. West Indian manatees are one of the most unique animals on Earth, and we're still finding out so many new things about them. But manatees are endangered, and many of them are killed or injured each year because of watercraft collisions or other human activities. You can help save these gentle marine mammals. For free tips on what you can do, call Save the Manatee Club at 1-800-432-JOIN. Thank you.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show here on the last first Thursday of the month for 2017. And what a ride it has been. My sleigh riding companion for the first Thursday of every month for 2017 has been none other than Matt Connarton of Matt Connarton Unleashed in the afternoon. He also gets unleashed in the evening, in the morning, in the middle of the night as well, but it's only in the afternoon that you can hear him be unleashed from 4 to 6 at W something 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 in Manchester, New Hampshire. And if you go to facebook.com/my Dr. Kevin, you will actually see the link to Matt's show, whether you want to hear. I mean, we just did a show. We just did a show on Tuesday. We did a great show on Monday. We did a great show on Monday.
Monday, yeah. Yes.
So if you go to Dr. Kevin, my Dr. Kevin on Facebook, make sure you like the page and you look at that first post. You can see where Matt has listed his contact information and where you can click to listen to his old shows or his new shows. I'm looking at it right now. You did such a good job of getting it done on break, Matt.
I'm actually still doing it. I apologize. This computer I'm still at the studio and the internet's running a little slow here. So, well, but it will be up.
Mercury is retrograde.
I probably just have too many windows open, which is a bad habit of mine. But
you and me both.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the government shutdown. We were talking about the negative impact it had. And we're talking about this is something that could affect how many thousands of people's jobs and paychecks right around the holidays if it happens?
A bunch.
Right? A bunch. A large bunch. Like, what is that? What is the impact on this? And, it's really interesting. Observation, you reach a certain political level, like Congress or president, you become so detached from the day in and day living of the average man in America that you don't think twice that you may put a motion on the floor or do something where suddenly somebody is not going to have the check to pay their mortgage or feed their kids because your higher ideal or the bribe check you're getting from your local lobbyist is more important than the average American. And I think we see that every day in Washington. What do you think?
Well, what they're really doing in Washington D.C. is running for re-election. It's been documented. Actually, they spend your typical congressman or senator spends more than 50% of their time in Washington D.C. raising money for their next election. It's like the entire point of their job is to keep their job, and somewhere further down on the list is actually doing what they were sent there to do by the people. But the rest of the time, they're raising money and trying to look like they're doing something like what they were sent there to do by the people.
So if they spend 50% of their time raising money to run for re-election, doesn't that mean we should be able to cut their paycheck in half? Because that's not what we're paying them to do.
Sounds good to me.
Hey. Let's put it as a motion on the floor. All in favor, say aye. Let's cut all of their paychecks in half. If you're only going to work part-time because the rest of the time you're going to be out there soliciting for your next term, if you get it, then we shouldn't be paying them for that time. I mean,
right.
Could you imagine any employee in America spending 20 hours of their 40-hour work week filling out resumes and applying for other jobs, and then would be upset if their employer docked their pay for it?
Well, I may have at one time in my past had a job where I spent probably 50% of my work week looking for another job, but yeah, I mean it's pretty obscene, and and it's one of the ways that the two parties really kind of work together. They jointly sort of protect the system, and they're fighting it out on ideological ground, but they both love the system that they have, and that's why they work to protect it. Actually, something that came up on my show, I think it was yesterday, we were talking about how people get very impassioned about Congress and about how, there's corruption and we need to throw the bums out. You'll hear that phrase a lot. Got to throw the bums out. And yet they tend to have I think on average, in an average election cycle, they have somewhere between a 90 and a 95% incumbency rate. We just keep reelecting the same people over and over again. And I think it's because what happens is everybody says throw the bums out, but then at election time, what everyone really says is, oh, throw the bums out. Oh, except for my bum. The bum in my state, they're actually doing a pretty good job. I like them. It's all the other ones that are bad, but I like the bum that we elected. And so we just keep reelecting the same people. And I think the reason it happens is at election time, we start seeing these ads where these candidates who are running for reelection, they have these ads full of all the great things that they brought to us, all the great things they did for our state or our community. You know, look at all the great things that I did for you. And then everybody goes, oh, okay, I guess it's all the other bums that are bad. And people just kind of fall for that. And we just keep electing the same people over and over.
Okay. So I'm gonna shift sands on you for a second. So what, if anything, can we do about the rampant double standard that's going on? And I'm talking in this case about the double standard with sexual abuse, sexual harassment claims that are being things that are being made. They've been made against the president, and they're certainly being made in spades right now against Roy Moore. And so you have the Republicans on one hand saying this is a horrible thing and those poor women and that never should be allowed and we need to change it. And on the other hand, they go, well, we're the political arm of the president. So, yeah, we're going to support Roy Moore, even though he's embattled in. I mean, like, how blind do you need to be to think that, what is it now, 14 something? At least 14 women have come out from all different demographics and said, yes, this happened to me from this man. All 14 are lying. All 14 are paid off. All 14, some of them are conservative themselves. Some are Republicans. Some are born-again Christians. Others are recovering drug addicts that may have ended up being drug addicts because they had some predator going after them when they were 14 or 16 years old from a place of power. I mean, when did the Republican Party become the party of perverts? I mean, I know there's some Democrats that are getting those allocations, and Al Franken has just said, I'm going to resign. He keeps on saying not all of these are true, but some of them are true, that I crossed a line and I apologize and I'm going to resign. But you know, as I called him on our show on Monday, our bully in chief has basically said, I don't care whatever he did to anybody. It's more important that he's here to vote for my program. And so that's all irrelevant. This is the party that represents the high-minded, born-again Christian, holier-than-thou segment of the country. But it's okay, as long as my agenda is being covered.
Well,
what do you do with that, Matt?
Well, the thing is, I mean, it's really just like anything else. Everything's partisan, so everyone goes to their partisan corners. So if you're a Democrat, you're going to assume that Roy Moore has done everything that he's been accused of. If you're a Republican, you're going to think it's a smear campaign against him. On the other end, of course, if you're a Democrat, you're going to think Al Franken's getting a raw deal, probably. And if you're a Republican, you're going to think he's finally getting what he deserves. It all tends to be very partisan. But the thing that's a little more complicated about this as well is that this is all part of this giant wave that started with Harvey Weinstein, who is not himself a political figure per se, obviously. He's a big-time Hollywood producer, or he was, but he did donate to, liberal candidates and donated a lot of money to political campaigns and causes. And it's like he just kind of turned on a faucet, and all of this is coming out in Hollywood, in politics, and stand-up comedians have gotten ensnared in this, which I think ultimately is a positive that this is all coming out. This this is a good thing that everyone who has been a victim feels free to speak. The thing that makes this a little bit complicated, though, is that you're dealing with something where everyone is sort of being presumed to be guilty without any due process. And they probably are guilty, but it gets a little bit tricky because, for example, what Trump actually said, I mean, Trump, to be fair, and I'm not one to defend Trump, it's not in my nature, but Trump didn't literally say he doesn't care what Roy Moore did. What Trump said is that Roy Moore has denied these allegations and nothing has been proven. Now, I personally, and this is my personal opinion, even taking out the allegations against Roy Moore, he is not someone I would support. He's just, he has a history of supporting positions that are homophobic and I think bigoted in some ways, and he doesn't believe in separation of church and state and all that. He's a far right sort of fringe character whom I don't think should be a U.S. senator anyway. But Alabama is one of the few states where a guy like him could get elected, and very well may. But and that is an opinion. But you're dealing with something where you have to kind of go on the presumption that these women are all telling the truth. And in the case of Roy Moore, in the case of Al Franken, whomever it is, not all of these claims are necessarily true. So that gets tricky too. Something very interesting, I thought this was interesting with the Al Franken thing, is there's actually some Republicans, believe it or not, who have come out in defense of Al Franken, who are saying, well, wait a minute. I think it's up to 8 women now, but nothing's been proven. He himself is saying that not all of these claims are true, and he's not getting due process. For example, Newt Gingrich came out today defending Al Franken and saying that, he should have due process before being subjected to this lynch mob by his own party. But that's an interesting dynamic, too, because when you see Republicans defending Al Franken, then you have to wonder, are they defending Al Franken to inoculate themselves from criticism of defending Roy Moore? Just like these Democrats that have decided to pressure Al Franken and John Conyers to resign, have they done so to inoculate themselves from criticism of their own criticism of Roy Moore? So, political motives always play a role here. So a lot of it's just partisanship, right? Everyone goes to their corners and picks their sides and believes what they want to believe and discard what they don't. But this goes deeper because you're dealing with a subject where, like I said, most of these allegations all the way around, probably true. Powerful people tend to do this kind of thing, unfortunately, regardless of ideology and so forth. But you don't always know. It's a little more complicated than that. So this is a tricky thing.
Yeah, and I'm going to comment on that when we come back.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
This is why you work so hard to pay the mortgage. Because home is more than four walls and a roof. It's that porch swing and a summer evening. It's everybody over for Sunday dinner. And your family sleeping in their own beds at night. Making Home Affordable is a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov.
Good night, Mama.
This is why. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Hello, hello, hello. And welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show. We are on the first Thursday of the month, which is Neutral News, and it's the last first Thursday of the month in 2017, which has been the year of a wild ride. As always, on the first Thursday of the month, I am here with Matt Connarton of Matt Connarton Unleashed. Not only does he host a 5-day-a-week drive time show, which you can find more information about at My Dr. Kevin, facebook.com/MyDrKevin. But you can also, he also is the founder of IPM Nation and has both a media station with both TV or video, I guess we call it. You don't call it TV because it's on the internet, right? What do you call it, Matt?
You can call it TV.
TV, okay. So where he hosts a number of TV channels as well as audio channels, including the Dr. Kevin and Friends channel. Yay.
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, did I hear an echo? It sounded like an echo effect on your voice. Did you do that yourself?
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing.
All by my onesies.
So
anyways.
In my head. That's all right.
Well, there is room in there for echoing.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Anyways,
that's amazing.
I did want to follow up on the comment about Roy Moore, though. And yeah. I agree. You and I have had this conversation, and we'll continue to have this conversation. And we stay and we are pretty much in alignment, which is that. Innocent until proven guilty. And I agree with that. And some of the claims that have come up out there against some famous people, only one person claimed it. And when it was pushed out a little bit, it seemed to go away. Which, either they paid him off, which is possible, or actually somebody was just trying to say, hey, this is the thing, and I'm going to see if I can get on this train. Because at some point that for some of these people, it could become a gravy train. You know that. And I know that. Mm-hmm. That's just reality.
Of course.
But when we are talking, when you talk about 9 different individuals coming forward with stories, and when you get somebody that at one point denied he even knew any of them, and they produced yearbooks that he signed and evidence and documents. The one woman that went and had to see him as a judge or a lawyer or something, and he signed off on her, and she has his signature. I've never met those women. I never met that woman. So
right, there's a credibility question.
There's a credibility issue. Al Franken, he admitted. He said not all of these claims are true, but some of them are. Mm-hmm. He took some ownership. And some of these people that are resigning are taking some ownership. They're saying some people are blowing it out of proportion. Some people are using this as a vendetta. But in some cases, in retrospect, I was out of line.
Right.
Kanye and Franken both said the same thing. Kanye didn't deny that something inappropriate happened at different points. He just wouldn't buy the whole ball of wax that was being handed to him. And neither did Franken.
Did you see or did you read the transcript of Al Franken's statement?
Yes, I did. I only read it once, and I read it quickly, but yeah. Where he uses it to call out Moore and Trump. Go ahead.
Yeah, I talked about it on my show, and I had a little bit of a problem with some of what he said. And this is getting into opinion again, but was there anything about, well, actually, I mean, he talked for a while, but there's something very specific that he said that kind of bothered me. And actually, I have it in front of me. It's this part. He said, oh, and then I scrolled down too far. I'm sorry. Let me find it again. The internet here is being very difficult. Now I can't find it. Okay, but I remember it. Basically, he said, oh, here it is. I, of all people, am aware that there is some irony in the fact that I am leaving while a man who has bragged on tape about his history of sexual assault sits in the Oval Office, and a man who has repeatedly preyed on young girls campaigns for the Senate with the full support of his party. That statement bothered me a little bit because it seemed like he's trying to use the situations of Trump and Roy Moore to sort of make himself look better. In the case of Roy Moore, he should have included the word allegedly. And in the case of Trump, and I got into this on my show today, and I almost didn't because this has to be said so carefully because I don't want to come off like I'm defending Trump when I say this. But let me ask you, Dr. Kevin, when you think about what Trump said, because obviously he's referring to Trump, what he said to Billy Bush at Access Hollywood, my personal interpretation of that has always been Trump was making a vulgar and disgusting joke. I don't think he was speaking seriously. He was making a vulgar and disgusting joke about grabbing women, and it was inappropriate, and he shouldn't talk like that. And I was raised not to speak that way about women, etc. But I never felt like he was actually bragging to Billy Bush about his history of sexual assault. I think he was making a very crude joke to try to make Billy Bush laugh, because you hear on the tape Billy Bush laughing. So I didn't care for the way Al Franken characterized what Trump said, because I thought it was twisting it into something that it wasn't to try to make Al Franken himself look better in proportion. And I'm curious how you feel about that.
Well, there is a couple of things. So first of all, I agree that the tape is not about an actual incident.
Right.
Now,
right.
I haven't reviewed the tape. He did admit somewhere, I believe, that he went behind where he wasn't supposed to be when he owned the Miss Universe pageant and basically was like a peeping Tom, so to speak. Walked into an area that if he hadn't been the owner, he would not have been allowed into as a male. And that's been supported by a few people. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure if we look that up, that when so much stuff comes out, it's hard to keep track of it all. But he basically went into the dressing rooms where women were changing their clothes and were in their underwear and stuff like that, where he had no business of being, and that was part of what he bragged about. So some people would say that's a sexual abuse, a misuse of your power. Because if he hadn't been the owner of the Miss Universe pageant, he never would have been allowed in there.
Right, of course.
So grabbing the genitalia was a crude, rude, inappropriate, made to make Billy Bush laugh. And now Trump is trying to claim that the tape was doctored and he actually never said that, which makes it even worse.
I know.
Okay. So, but there were actual Miss Universe contestants, more than one, that came out and said, yes, he would come back and he would make comments about them in semi-clothed states, and he would say things, and he would make himself present where nobody else would have been allowed. And so he abused his role as an owner.
Right.
And I thought some reference to that was made on that tape as well. So, which means that Al Franken saying that may not have been as off. We so focused on the grabbing of the genitalia You just grab them,
Right.
blah, 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 that we forget that was a much longer interview. And that he talked about some of the things of power. And part of it was him doing Peeping Tom at the Miss Universe. The other thing is that 19 women, the majority of them who came out after the October 16th tape, and some who are being represented and who have a legal case going, said that there was sexual harassment and assault, and they're trying to dismiss it because they're saying that can't be filed against the president now. So,
I did see that, yes.
Okay, so on that hand, if it was just that comment and nothing else, then Al Franken would have been out of line. And he did need to say allegedly. I agree. And again, there's a huge difference. And this is not me siding with the Democrats or siding against the Republicans. It's the difference in all of these cases between the people that showed up and said, yes, I screwed up. Yes, I made a mistake. Yes, I did something in retrospect I realize was inappropriate. I apologize for it and take some ownership. So you have those that say, yes, I did it. Then you have those that say, yes, I did some of this stuff, but no, I didn't do all of it. But yes, I'm apologizing for what I did do, but this has also gotten blown out of proportion. And I think that's also a fair statement. You know, if you know, when you had your old TV show, if somebody said that they felt like you hugged them a little too long and cuddled with them when they were supposed to be a guest on your show, and it made them feel uncomfortable and they thought you were sexually coming on to them, for which we would all sign a testimonial that, yes, that's not Matt.
Right.
But you may say, you know, in retrospect, that's how that, you know, that's what that person's impression was. And I can't, you know, but if 10 other people came out and said, well, and Matt threw me on the floor and did me in the room, you can say, well, no, that didn't happen. And you should.
Right. Right, of course.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. Host your show on IOM-FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM-FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Eros Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Every 2 minutes, an American is sexually assaulted. The majority of victims know their attacker. It could be your friend, your neighbor, or someone you met at a party. If you said no, it's rape, and it's a crime. This is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Call the National Sexual Assault Hotline today at 1-800-656-HOPE or visit rain.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by RAIN and this station.
Hello, and welcome back. We are now on the last segment of the first show of the month, of the last first of the month of 2017. Are you dizzy yet, Matt?
Am I dizzy?
So I was trying to follow all the first and last and first and last. I mean, you know, if you tried to follow them going back and forth, you could have hurt your neck.
That's true. I may have a concussion.
Well, I've heard about you being concussed before.
Yeah.
So one of the things is that, you know, the conversation we had was Al Franken out of line. He obviously used it as a way to try to continue to move forward the Democratic, what's going to become because you know that if Moore gets elected, And then if Congress, which now says now has done 180 degrees, you have McConnell, who said he believed the women and thinks more should step down, who now says let the people of Alabama decide. The RNC has come out and said I'm an arm of the president. So if the president says we support him, we support him, which is interesting how they said that, which basically is them trying to have some deniability of what happens if more evidence comes out, or what happens if this goes to a court trial, and the thing is I don't know if there's anything to try him on. There's statute of limitations, and there are things, and people don't understand. And at some point, and I've referred to this on a couple of different shows, either that I've done or I've been interviewed on recently. For some reason, my invitation to get interviewed on other people's shows are up these days. Is unless you are in a quote unquote disenfranchised minority, which it's hard to look at women as a minority because they're the majority. We actually have more women in the country than men. But definitely there is a whole double standard, especially in certain areas of the country, where a woman's word is not worth as much as a man's word, that women are expected to still be second-class citizens and are treated that way and allow themselves to be treated that way and are trained to be treated that way. And then there is the differential, the people who have said repeatedly, and people don't get it. And this is one of the things that is really a serious issue, that if you are from the wrong side of the tracks, if you came from a broken home and you're struggling to get by and you're a latchkey kid and, and somebody powerful, somebody from the right side of the track, somebody that has a title or is a judge or a lawyer or somebody that is a prominent citizen does something, whose word are they going to believe? Whose word are they going to believe? And so these women coming forward, and I hear these conversations sometimes, and I just really want to get into some people's faces when they go, well, why didn't they say something 20 years ago? You don't understand. You have lived a WASP-privileged life that means you have no concept that if you're a person of a certain gender or a certain race or a certain even ethnicity or even a certain religion in a certain part of the country, you're treated like a second-class citizen and your word was not going to be believed, and you would have paid the consequences for opening your mouth. Besides the fact that some of some of the stories that we are hearing are traumatizing stories. And I'm not keeping this just to Trump and more. Some of these are truly horrific stories that, this might have been somebody who might have done something with their life and ended up not doing it because the event drove them into feeling hopeless or depressed or picking up an addiction. And people who do not have firsthand experience of some kind or another, of either somebody in their life they love experiencing it or experiencing it themselves, don't know just how powerless these people can feel. Yeah.
And to think, too, that 40 years ago it would have been, easy for any of these women to come out is crazy. To come out and speak out against what a powerful man like Roy Moore did to them. I mean, it wouldn't have gone well. It would not have gone well. This is I was talking with someone on my show yesterday, actually, a Republican who tends to want to believe Roy Moore, and he was saying that he believes that all these women are coming out right now because it's, Democrats actually see an opportunity to win that Senate seat, which is, for a Democrat to hold a Senate seat from Alabama, that's a pretty rare thing. So they see a rare opportunity. So he suspects that this is a coordinated effort to sabotage Roy Moore. And what I said to him is, that is possible. It is a possibility. I said, it may also just be, because he was questioning the timing of it. He was saying, why now? Why this moment? And I was saying, but it also may simply be that it's because there is this whole wave that's been going on and that's engulfed politics and Hollywood and other areas of public life, where all these women now, ever since Harvey Weinstein, all these women now feel free and protected, and they feel a sense of solidarity with other women who've experienced harassment or abuse or whatever. So, it may just be a coincidence that it's happening now because this wave is happening now, this much larger thing, which hopefully will be a big change for the better in terms of our society and culture. But so it's possible that it's a coordinated effort by the Democrats to just get that Senate seat, but I really doubt it. I think it's just part of a much larger movement that's happening.
Yeah, and I loved your response to the why now, because, and of course, I'm sure if I had been visiting at that point, because I visit every now and then, your radio show, he probably wouldn't have thrilled the idea that the Web of Light astrologer said a year ago that at this time all of this stuff was going to come out. And that there's an astrological reason why all of this stuff is coming out of the surface. And I've got the tapes from a year ago of her going, and then by the end of 2017, all of this stuff's going to come out, and all these people are going to get exposed, and all these people, and that it is part of a cycle that goes on. And this cycle happened 90 years ago. And, it's so funny because people don't want to give any legitimacy to astrology, but it's got thousands of years of recorded cycles that just keep on happening to show up.
Yeah.
Oh,
interesting.
Oops.
Yeah.
So there was definitely so from that perspective, the perspective of a movement has started, so women are feeling more like they can and they're more empowered. And in some ways they're getting more triggered by the hypocrisy. I mean, some of the people that spoke up said, when this so-and-so came out and started criticizing somebody who had been accused of sexual harassment, and I knew that they had, sexually harassed people. I mean, you look at Matt Lauer. I mean,
that was a surprise.
He was taking some people to task that had these accusations made after them. And that angered the people who did that. And again, it's hard, and one of the things that's most telling to me, and I know we're almost out of time here, is that the diversity of women who have come forward. It's not like they're all tried and true volunteer Democrat women who suddenly, came forward en masse and did this. Some of the demographics of some of these women that have come forward are the last women in the world that would come forward from their background and are not people that would get approached by a Democratic scam.
Sure.
You don't go to a conservative, Republic voting, Bible thumping, born again Christian woman and say, hey, we'll give you $10,000 if you lie about Roy Moore. Really?
Right.
I think that's convenient blindness on the part of your Republicans' part, because you have to look deeper. They're not 19 women as if it's 19, pebbles, grains of sand on the ocean, or it's 9 or whatever. These are all unique individual people that gave very detailed stories and had some evidence along the way and had some corroboration and that would be a huge undertaking in a short period of time to pull all of that together. And they forged his signature. I mean, there's a point where it's just where the conspiracy theory that every conservative or every politician pokes fun at all these, of course we don't have anything in Area 57. No, we're not hiding things. No, we don't have information on UFOs. No, all of this stuff. No. That's all conspiracy theory shit. No, we don't have meetings in back rooms and make decisions and then foist them on the public. And no, we don't. That's all conspiracy. Well, this sounds pretty conspiracy theory to have put this together just to get a seat in Alabama.
Right.
That's when I want to look and go, duh, how stupid do you think I am to make a case like that? I would have loved to have been on yesterday with him.
Yeah.
So anyways, I know we're going to be going off air any second now. I expect the music to come up. Any last thoughts? Don't forget to come on. I know you're having a problem with your internet, but even when you have to wait till you get home, make sure you go on and let people know where they can click through and listen to you. I also posted a little thing.
I did share.
You did?
I was going to say I did share on that post the Monday's show that you were on with me.
Oh, good. Well, maybe I just refreshed. Maybe it will show up now. And I posted just in case you wanted to look at it. No, it's still not showing up.
Oh,
anyways, we will see you next week where I have as a guest, I can't remember, so you'll just have to tune in and find out. But I have a guest next week. That's not Matt Connarton. We'll see you next week. Have a good week. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Kevin.